We almost didn't visit Bali. We'd heard too many tourists, too much traffic, full of drunk partygoers. And as one couple rapidly approaching a serious midlife crisis, seeing younger, more attractive people having fun is no longer our idea of having fun. We almost didn't visit Bali, but I'm so glad that we did. Whilst Bali absolutely won't be for everyone, we experienced 4 very different slices of this beautiful Indonesian island, but from a couple's no nightlife perspective. After spending 2.5 weeks in total, this is a suggested 10 to 14 day itinerary, with rice fields, bougie restaurants, Hindu temples, questionable coffee tastings, sunrise mountain hikes, yoga classes, and magical hotel wake-ups. This is Suitcase Monkey, with a much more peaceful Bali. So, what might a cozy Bali itinerary actually look like? Well, by far, our favourite area was Ubud, where I'd recommend above anywhere else, with at least 3 or 4 nights. From rice fields to temples, it's the spiritual heart of Bali, and its central location makes for the perfect stopping point towards the more spacious north. Which then moves us nicely to one night in Kintamani, most popular for hiking Mount Batur, but with one potential bad reason to skip entirely, which we'll cover later. Finally, our last stop would be 3 nights in Nusa Dua, a southern resort hideaway, perfect for a relaxing end to a busy trip. But before we get to all that, our story begins with Canggu. Of all the places we visited, Canggu was the biggest party magnet, with neighbouring Seminyak and Kuta potentially even more. So we chose Canggu mostly out of curiosity and booked a stay in this pleasant, affordable hotel right on the edge. This did put us away from the noise, but still just a short walk away from the indulgence of trendy shops, restaurants and cafes, and boy is this where Canggu excels. Yes, it's easy to write all this off as surface-level tourist stuff, but we never found it insincere. The hospitality was amongst the best we received in all of Southeast Asia, with locals frequently starting friendly chit-chat. Bali might have gone all in on tourism, but they were showing their experience because of it. Turned out our preconceptions were slightly overblown then. I mean, even the partygoers seemed respectful enough, and yes, we were largely in bed by 9 PM, but I'm sure they behaved after. So the only real negative so far? Getting from A to B. You're either stuck in a car not moving for minutes, or you're hanging off the back of a taxi bike for dear life. So we just kept things local on foot. But crossing a road is an accomplishment in itself, and once you have, just make sure the pavement doesn't then kill you. Despite this minor risk of potential amputation, maybe it was just the incredibly low expectations, but we quickly went from Canggu boo-hoo to Canggu, who knew? Ultimately, our guards were considerably lowered, and we were now eager what other surprises lay ahead. Tomorrow we'll be escaping the heaviest traffic with some island exploration, visiting some of Bali's most popular sites. Ulan Danu Buratan Temple dates back almost 400 years. One of Bali's most iconic and scenic sites, it's dedicated to the water goddess Dewi Danu. Although this is undoubtedly the postcard shot, the surrounding compound will probably take up more of your time. Its high elevation not only lowers the temperature to a pleasant level, but its grounds are enjoyable enough to walk around, with Balinese dance and music echoing throughout. Since this is one of the most popular tourist attractions on the whole island, you can also expect other quintessential Balinese traditions. There's the swan boat ride, a bunny rabbit petting zoo, and everyone's favourite Balinese icon, Father Christmas. Despite the obvious clash of culture versus popular, I'd say this is a must-visit stop, especially if it isn't too far from your chosen path. For us, we had taken a slight detour to get here, but looking back, we did make the best choice with transport around Bali. Our destination was ultimately our hotel in Ubud, but whereas a taxi would have cost $20 for a 90-minute A to B journey, we instead booked a private car for the day, which I'll link below. Costing $40, this gave us the luxury of being able to stop at numerous sites along the way, as you've just seen, but with the added guidance of our driver. We found this bespoke island tour through the sponsor of this video, Get Your Guide. Longtime partner to the channel, we always find their app and website a useful tool when searching for well-organised activities and transport, with digital tickets conveniently located within the Get Your Guide app. Later on this trip, both our Sunrise Mountain Hike and Ubud Cycle Day were also found through Get Your Guide after browsing for some inspiration. All experiences shown are linked in the description below, along with hotels, attractions and restaurants visited during this entire trip. Thank you to Get Your Guide for continuing to support this channel and making travel vlogs like this one possible. Now, on to Ubud. Of all the places we visited over our entire 100 days in Asia, Ubud was easily in our top 3. We immediately felt a difference in the air, and unfortunately for me, a difference that's hard to show on film, so I'll try my best with words. Compared to Canggu, it seemed more mature, more balanced, and felt made for solo female travellers and couples. It still had all the trendy hangouts, but was just more at peace with itself. The holes in the road were harder to fall down, and there was even a pedestrian crossing. But by this time, I'd already perfected the "I'm absolutely crossing this road and you're just gonna have to deal with it" mentality that you need. So we'd gone from Canggu, who knew, to Ubud, you definitely should. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong though, Ubud is still catering to tourists, but it just felt a little more lived in. Balinese homes are often laid out in walk-through family compounds, and our accommodation formed part of one, so it always felt like a homely return. Coupled with a nice pool for cooling off and this peaceful balcony setting where breakfast was served, it was a good price for what it was. It was also nestled on this quiet street, just a few minutes from Ubud's most popular roads, and was a great base for some of the town's biggest sites. One ritual we were becoming very used to seeing were these offerings, placed outside of homes, shops and temples. Known as Cenang Sari, they're a symbol of gratitude and respect to the gods. It is worth noting that throughout all of Indonesia, Hinduism is practiced by only 2% of people, but it makes up almost 90% of the population in Bali, which in turn is a healthy difference maker to the island's unique vibe, especially in Ubud. Similarly, Ubud has long been connected to yoga, and before arrival I assumed my mornings would be looking like this. Unfortunately, they were still looking like this. But we were inspired enough to take this sunset yoga class, something that isn't a regular thing for us. As the session wore on, the open-ended room allowed for a natural soundtrack of cicadas and rustling leaves, and as night fell, it was the ideal time to take a moment. One of our favourite moments of all though was this walking trail, perfect for the cooler mornings and something I definitely want to put on your radar. Although it begins more rural, it eventually scatters a few much needed rest stops. It was at this point that we almost turned back, but I'm so glad that we pushed on, as the path eventually opened up even further to our favourite breakfast location. After our favourite breakfast, we struck lucky again for the evening. This popular family-run restaurant settles nicely within the open-air family compound setting. Their signature dish is an Indonesian favourite, nasi campur, essentially translating to rice being mixed with an assortment of small dishes. Tofu, egg, deep-fried corn, satay chicken, vegetables and sambal mata. A tasty slaw that brought everything together really well, and it ended up being our favourite Balinese restaurant. This 3-hour electric bike tour was also one of our top Bali highlights. Our excellent guide Kadek showed off various stopping points in and around Ubud's most popular local rice field, Tegal Alang. It's also here where you can recreate that infamous shot, the giant Bali swing photo. Being just about the worst advocate for social media reach, I instead opted for this tiny, no-fuss baby swing, and despite looking ridiculous in practice, you can almost end up not looking like a massive bell end. The strangest part though was this coffee tasting. Introduced by the Dutch in the late 17th century, Indonesia has become the 4th largest producer of coffee in the world. And because of this, you'll find coffee plantations all over Bali, but what makes them unique is Kopi Luwak. This is where the coffee beans are digested and then pooped out by these guys, locally known as luwaks. The beans are then cleaned, roasted and ground as usual, with the idea that it provides a richer, heavier flavour. Putting aside the small question of how anyone discovered this difference in the first place, reactions range from calling it the holy grail of coffee to questions around animal welfare. This location did have an animal welfare checkmark on TripAdvisor, with the Kopi Luwak being served as optional at a cost, still leaving a large selection of coffees to taste. As we finished the day trip with another excellent nasi campur, we were now closer to the end of our time in Bali than the start. Tomorrow we'll be taking a car to Kintamani, and whilst it definitely has its positives, there was one unfortunate downside that might be too much for some of you to ignore. Only 1 hour north of Ubud, but with an altitude 4,000 feet higher, Kintamani started well. Upon arrival, we stopped at a row of restaurants and were immediately welcomed with a refreshing temperature drop and this stunning mountain range. Fortunately, this view never gets old and was even more peaceful from our accommodation. With an incredibly kind family looking after us, again the room itself was basic, but the wake-ups were like a dream. There was one unfortunate flip side to our time in Kintamani, and that was just how many houseflies there were buzzing around. So as a slight warning, either skip ahead 20 seconds if you don't like looking at lots of insects, or just close your eyes and listen to my thoughts. Ready? Now, I'm perfectly fine with real life breaking into the tourist holiday illusion, but when I'm drinking it, I'm less so. I don't know if we were just unlucky, sometimes the flies weren't so bad, sometimes they were, but I have to mention it so that I'm not presenting a false illusion. The good news is that the main reason we were here, the Mount Batur hike, was fly-free. The bad news was that of the 3 sunrises we stayed in Kintamani for, 2 were idyllic and 1 was not. And you can guess which morning we chose. So that's why the night before, as the rain, thunder and lightning grew in volume, we crossed our fingers for our 3 AM pickup. 100 minutes of walking, 2,000 feet of sometimes steep elevation gain, and all done in a pair of socks and sandals, the summit did feel like a worthy achievement. The hike is difficult enough that the average person will feel tested, but still manageable enough for the vast majority, which is why it's Bali's most popular hike, and although it was busy, it never felt too crowded that it became an issue. Overall, even though I'd still recommend this hike, I'm hesitant to recommend Kintamani as a place to stay for more than one night. If you were still interested in the hike, the tour we use do also pick up from both Ubud and Canggu, so that might be a better solution. But with our legs now sorely aching and socks basically ruined, our final days in Bali would now be centered around total relaxation. Located in southern Bali and less than half an hour from the airport is Nusa Dua, a loosely gated community but still open to the public. It's purpose-built for luxury resorts and less crowded beaches. They say variety is the spice of life, and this spotless, nicely cut grass non-authentic Bali was a brief welcome change. Instead of haggling at the market, the prices were now just displayed. There was no more getting stuck in traffic, and instead of animal shit in my coffee, I now had sugar. You can, of course, stay in Nusa Dua for as long as you want to pamper yourself, and your accommodation will play a large part in this. Just because our dates didn't quite work out, we actually split our time over two separate locations. The first was in a more intimate, cozy villa setting. The grounds here were small but really well laid out, along with the usual top-notch Bali service that we come to expect, and it was just so nice to finally take a breather. Our second stay was a much larger hotel resort, and again in terms of the facilities and staff, ticked all of our boxes without the price getting too crazy for what it was. But it was our room here that we particularly loved, easily our favourite of the entire stay. It had this wide open living space with all the mod cons and a breezy outdoor balcony. With both properties, we kept the cost down by staying just outside of the prime location, which is mainly along these two beaches. The hotels found here are usually 5-star quality, and if you can justify the price, are definitely worth checking out as an option. These hotels are still open to a wander, and I've linked our favourites in the description below, but even if you aren't staying here, they do make for a nice lunch or cocktail stop. And it was after leaving one of these hotels that we actually had this brief encounter with a whale and 2 dolphins, which turned out to be our final Bali surprise. We'd gone from Canggu, who knew, to Ubud, you definitely should, to Nusa Dua, where one night is too fewer. I resisted the urge to go with Kintamani, it isn't Fanny, and I thought we'd turned a corner, but here we are anyway. Please come up with something better before the end of this video. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, a comment, a sub, and all that fun YouTube stuff. Check out our other videos from our 3 months in Southeast Asia and Japan, with more still coming on the way, and as ever, until the next one, thank you so much for watching. Suitcase Monkey. Nusa Dua. Ain't nothing truer for you as a viewer. No.